Welcome back to another episode of our deep dive in everything technology and AI. In our last session, we explored the building blocks of the metaverse. We touched on extended reality, AI, and the crucial role of data. We discussed the incredible applications of embedded AI in the metaverse, the impediments to making this vision a reality, and even some impudent predictions about the growth. Last time, we explored some truly transformative ideas: extended reality, the metaverse, data, and AI. We delved into the technological ingredients of the metaverse, examined the role of artificial intelligence in making it intelligent and interactive, and even touched on digital twins, those incredible virtual counterparts that mirror the real world.
It was an enlightening discussion that set the stage for understanding how these technologies are coming together to shape the future. Today, we're building on that foundation to talk about some of the real-world applications of the metaverse and the role of embedded AI in those use cases.
That's right, and we'll also dive into the impediments to creating the metaverse, looking at the challenges and hurdles that still need to be overcome. Plus, we'll end with some bold and impudent predictions about where this technology might take us in the years to come.
And to guide us on this journey, we're continuing to draw insights from the book The Fourth Industrial Revolution and 100 Years of AI by Dr. Alok Aggarwal. This book gives us a fascinating look at the history and future of AI and how it intertwines with the development of the metaverse.
So, the future painted in the book is absolutely fascinating. The idea of integrating technologies like 6G and AI to create experiences nearly indistinguishable from reality. It's mind-blowing. Imagine 6G providing the speed and bandwidth to render intricate 3D environments and allow millions to interact seamlessly.
It's a huge leap forward. From early virtual reality experiments to now envisioning entire virtual worlds, we're seeing applications that range from virtual real estate to synthetic media and AI-powered virtual influencers.
Let's talk about virtual real estate. It's such a buzzworthy concept. People are spending millions on digital land. Is this a sustainable trend, or are we heading toward a virtual housing bubble?
That's the big question. While there's potential for hype, the possibilities are exciting. Imagine owning a storefront in a 24/7 accessible virtual mall or designing a dream home free from the constraints of physics. Scarcity will still play a role, driven by factors like location, design, and utility.
So it's not just about owning digital land, it's about what you create on it. That brings us to retail and advertising. How does synthetic media and AI-driven virtual influencers reshape the shopping experience?
Synthetic media refers to content created by AI. Images, videos, or audio that look and sound incredibly real. In retail, this could mean virtual grocery stores where you inspect a 3D tomato before buying, or AI influencers offering personalized style advice. It's interactive, immersive, and tailored.
That sounds amazing, but also raises questions about authenticity. Will people crave the human element, or will AI become so advanced that it bridges the gap entirely?
Likely a mix. AI could handle routine tasks like product recommendations, while humans focus on nuanced interactions. It's about blending efficiency with the human touch. This concept extends to fashion as well, trying on digital outfits or owning virtual replicas of real garments.
Digital fashion feels like a game changer. It's sustainable, eliminating waste from ill-fitting clothes, and could revolutionize how we experience fashion. But can digital ever replace the tactile experience of physical clothing?
Probably not entirely. We'll likely see a blend, exclusive digital designs for the virtual world, with physical counterparts for real-life experiences.
It's not just fashion. The metaverse could also transform entertainment. Virtual concerts and events are already growing in popularity.
Absolutely. The pandemic gave us a glimpse, but the potential is huge. Attending concerts or events along thousands of global avatars in an immersive shared experience. It's a new frontier for how we connect and entertain ourselves.
So it's not just about replicating real-world experiences, right? It's about creating entirely new, immersive ones. But what about the energy of a live concert? Can a virtual experience ever truly capture the feeling of being in a crowd, surrounded by other fans, and feeling the music vibrate through your body?
That's a great question. Developers are working on ways to replicate sensory experiences in the virtual world. Imagine haptic suits that let you feel the bass drum or even experience the scent of pyrotechnics during a show.
That would be incredible.
It's amazing how technology can blur the lines between the physical and virtual worlds, creating multi-sensory experiences. And it's not just limited to entertainment. The potential applications in healthcare are equally groundbreaking, especially with the concept of digital twins.
Digital twins? Can you explain how they might revolutionize healthcare?
A digital twin is essentially a virtual representation of a physical object or system. In healthcare, it means creating a virtual model of your body. Doctors could use this to simulate procedures, test treatments, or predict health risks, all without any risk to the patient.
So it's like having a virtual lab where doctors can experiment and innovate. But how accurate are these digital twins? Can they truly reflect the complexity of the human body?
That's where AI comes in. By analyzing vast amounts of data, your medical history, genetic information, and even lifestyle habits, these models become highly personalized and incredibly sophisticated.
That opens up so many possibilities for personalized medicine, preventive care, and even drug discovery. But what about the ethical concerns? Who owns the data used to create these digital twins? And what happens if it's misused?
Those are critical questions. It highlights the need for strong privacy regulations and advanced security measures as the technology develops.
Let's shift gears and talk about how the metaverse might reshape the way we work. Virtual offices and workspaces are becoming more relevant as remote work continues to grow.
Definitely. Imagine collaborating with colleagues in a virtual office, brainstorming on interactive whiteboards, or catching up around a virtual water cooler. It's a way to bring back the spontaneous interactions that we miss in remote work settings.
That sounds so much more engaging than endless video calls. But do you think people will want to spend more time in virtual environments, especially with the rise of screen fatigue?
That's a valid concern. Designing virtual workspaces that are engaging and ergonomically sound is crucial. Think about virtual offices with natural lighting, realistic avatars that show nonverbal cues, and features that encourage movement and physical activity.
It's exciting to consider how these spaces could enhance productivity and well-being rather than add to stress. And speaking of well-being, the metaverse also opens up new possibilities for fitness and recreation.
Exactly. Picture attending a virtual yoga class with others, getting real-time feedback from the instructor, or participating in virtual fitness competitions.
That's such a great idea. It's perfect for people who feel self-conscious in a traditional gym setting. Plus, you could work out with friends or family who live far away, like having a virtual gym buddy.
Exactly. Virtual fitness platforms could even host social events, fostering a sense of community and shared purpose. It's about making exercise more inclusive, accessible, and fun.
It's fascinating how the metaverse has the potential to blend so many aspects of our lives: work, fitness, socializing, entertainment, all within these immersive digital environments. But with all this talk about the possibilities, I can't help but wonder about the downsides. Are there risks we should be aware of?
Absolutely. One major concern is data privacy. With so much personal information being collected in these virtual spaces, tracking movements, interactions, and even emotional responses, it's crucial to have robust safeguards to protect this data from misuse.
That's so true. We've already seen how data can be mishandled in the real world, and the stakes feel even higher in the metaverse, where so much more could be tracked.
Exactly. Another issue is accessibility. While the metaverse could democratize access to some experiences, it also risks creating a digital divide if people don't have equal access to the technology or infrastructure needed, like high-speed internet or the latest devices.
That's such a crucial point. The last thing we want is to leave people behind just because they can't afford the tech or don't live in areas with the required infrastructure.
Precisely. And then there's the potential for misuse of the technology. From misinformation and manipulation to harassment within virtual spaces, the risks are very real. It's essential to build strategies to mitigate these issues and ensure the metaverse is a safe, inclusive environment for everyone.
It sounds like there's so much complexity here. It's not just about building the technology. It's also about creating the social, ethical, and legal frameworks to guide its use.
Absolutely. The metaverse represents not just a technological revolution, but a societal one. It's about fundamentally reshaping how we interact with the world and with each other.
It's both exciting and a bit daunting, isn't it? The potential is enormous, but so is the responsibility to get it right.
Exactly. It's important to consider the kind of future we want to create in the metaverse. If we have the power to design and experience anything we can imagine, what will we prioritize? Will it be a space that fosters connection, creativity, and well-being, or will it amplify inequalities and societal challenges?
That's such a powerful reminder. We're not just passengers on this technological journey. We have agency and a voice to influence the direction this takes.
Definitely. It's not just about individual choices, though. It's about collective action. Governments, businesses, researchers, and everyday citizens all have a role to play in shaping this new digital world.
So, listener, as you've been following this discussion, what's been on your mind? What excites you most about the metaverse? What concerns or questions do you have?
It's a lot to think about, isn't it?
It really is. But that's the beauty of conversations like this. this. They spark curiosity, critical thinking, and a sense of possibility.
The metaverse is a vast, uncharted space. It's up to all of us to explore it thoughtfully and responsibly, with a shared sense of purpose.
I love that. It's not about blindly embracing the hype or rejecting the technology outright. It's about informed optimism and engaging in meaningful conversations about its potential.
Who knows, maybe you, the listener, will help shape the metaverse, whether by building the next groundbreaking application, contributing to ethical guidelines, or simply fostering a more inclusive and vibrant virtual world for everyone.
That's such an inspiring thought. Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's delve into the potential roadblocks that could hold the metaverse back for another decade, maybe even longer. I'm excited to unpack this with you.
Me too. The complexities involved are often overshadowed by the hype, but it's important to look at the challenges with a grounded perspective.
Yeah, the first major issue that stands out is data. And it's not just about the sheer volume of it, that's mind-boggling enough, but also something much more complex.
Exactly. It's about the interconnectedness of this data. Think about all the components of the metaverse: extended reality, XR, smart contracts, intricate software systems. All of these generate vast amounts of data. The challenge lies in managing, interpreting, and securing it effectively.
That ties into a concept I came across recently: uninterpretable AI. The term really stuck with me. Can you break down what it means and why it's so significant?
Sure. Uninterpretable AI refers to AI systems that can make accurate predictions or decisions, but the process by which they arrive at those conclusions is opaque. In the metaverse, where AI might manage interactions, virtual assets, or even security, this raises trust issues. If we don't fully understand how these systems work, it's hard to rely on them, especially when dealing with sensitive data and online security.
It's unsettling, isn't it? We're essentially handing over the keys to a virtual world to these systems, some of which even their creators don't completely understand.
Exactly. And on top of that, there's the challenge of the infrastructure needed to support the metaverse. We're talking about ultra-fast computing, storage, and communication capabilities to process massive amounts of data in real time, integrate seamlessly across devices, and securely store data at an unprecedented scale.
That's a great point. We hear so much about the metaverse's potential, but if the underlying technology isn't ready, are we just building castles in the sky?
It's a valid concern, and even if we achieve the technical advancements, there's still the monumental task of securing this interconnected digital ecosystem.
That brings us to another big roadblock: cybersecurity. We're not just talking about malware and ransomware, but also stolen digital identities. It feels like taking the worst parts of the internet and amplifying them in a virtual world.
Absolutely. The metaverse's security is only as strong as its weakest link. With so much data flowing through it, vulnerabilities are inevitable. And it's not just about protecting digital assets. XR devices are collecting highly personal data, like voice, eye movements, and even head movements. That's almost like letting someone peek into your brain.
That's a chilling thought. Cybercriminals could exploit this data in ways we can't even imagine yet, whether it's stealing virtual identities, manipulating avatars, or misusing biometric data in the real world.
Exactly. While companies are working on security solutions, the rapid evolution of threats makes it feel like a constant game of catch-up.
So, how do we stay ahead of the curve when the technology itself is still developing?
It's a massive challenge. The key lies in constant innovation and collaboration between security experts, tech developers, and policymakers. It's not just about building walls. It's about creating adaptable systems that can evolve with new threats as they emerge.
So we've got this massive amount of data, these complex AI systems we don't fully understand, and a constantly evolving landscape of cyber threats. It's a lot to grapple with. But let's step away from the technical challenges for a moment and focus on the human element. The metaverse is ultimately about connecting people and creating immersive experiences. But what about the potential downsides of all this immersion?
That's a crucial question. The metaverse blurs the lines between real and virtual worlds, which could amplify existing social issues like identity theft, fraud, and harassment. On top of that, it brings new challenges related to psychological well-being.
Like people developing strong emotional attachments to avatars without even knowing who's behind them. It's like falling in love with a digital ghost.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of comparison, much like what we see on social media today. In a hyper-immersive virtual world, where the lines between reality and fantasy blur even further, feelings of inadequacy and social pressure could be even more intense.
And harassment is a big concern too. Some surveys on VR environments show shockingly high rates of harassment. Nearly half of female participants reported experiencing it. That's a huge red flag.
It really highlights that the metaverse isn't a separate utopia. It's an extension of our current social structures and behaviors. If we don't address these issues in the real world, they'll carry over into virtual spaces, possibly in even more damaging ways.
So, how do we tackle these challenges? Is it even possible to create a metaverse that's safe, inclusive, and supportive?
One potential solution lies in establishing clear community guidelines, content moderation policies, and robust reporting mechanisms. We need to define acceptable behavior and have effective ways to address violations.
Are we talking about virtual moderators stepping in when someone behaves inappropriately?
Exactly. These could be a mix of AI-driven systems and human oversight to ensure fairness. Education and awareness campaigns would also play a big role in promoting positive social norms within the metaverse.
It's about creating a culture of respect and inclusivity from the start, making it clear that harmful behavior won't be tolerated.
Right? And this requires collaboration between platform developers, content creators, and the user community. Everyone has to be invested in building a welcoming and safe virtual space.
But building a responsible metaverse isn't just about social and ethical solutions. There's also the legal side. Who owns what in a virtual world? How do we deal with property rights, intellectual property, and even jurisdiction in a borderless digital space?
That's another significant challenge. The metaverse introduces entirely new legal questions. For example, who owns the rights to your avatar or its unique features? What happens if someone steals your virtual identity or replicates your digital artwork?
And imagine explaining to an accountant that you owe virtual property taxes to a city that doesn't exist in the real world. It sounds almost absurd, but these are real issues.
They are. There's a need for clear legal frameworks around virtual property, digital assets, intellectual property, and even virtual municipalities. For instance, how do we handle situations like trespassing in virtual spaces tied to real-world locations?
This raises the question of whether game developers or metaverse platform creators can be held responsible for the actions of their users, especially if the platform encourages harmful behavior. It gets blurry very quickly.
It's almost like the metaverse could become a legal Wild West without clear rules and regulations.
And it's not just about safety, it's also about fairness. Without clear legal frameworks, we could end up with a digital world the wealthy and powerful exploit the system, leaving everyone else behind.
It's definitely a lot to think about, but it's important to have these conversations now. While the metaverse is still in its early stages, we have a unique opportunity to shape its development in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
It does feel a bit heavy. All these challenges could seem overwhelming.
True, but there's always room for optimism. The metaverse is still being created, and we can shape its future by approaching these challenges with open minds and a willingness to collaborate.
Yeah, that's true. While there's a lot to consider, it's not all doom and gloom. The conversation also points to potential solutions, and that's where things start to get really interesting.
Right? So where do we even begin to tackle these massive challenges? From data security to virtual harassment to rewriting the legal code for a digital world, it's a complex challenge. One starting point is the need for robust data governance frameworks, clear guidelines for data collection, storage, usage, and sharing. Transparency and accountability are crucial.
So, it's about establishing clear rules for handling data in the metaverse, almost like a digital bill of rights for users.
Exactly. But it's not just about rules. We also need to develop technological solutions that prioritize privacy and security. Decentralized data storage, advanced encryption, and privacy-enhancing technologies that make it harder to track individuals in the metaverse are all part of the solution.
So imagine a distributed network where data isn't stored in a single central location, making it harder for hackers to access.
Exactly. And these solutions need to evolve continuously, staying ahead of emerging threats. It's an ongoing race between those securing data and those trying to exploit it.
Okay, so data security is one piece of the puzzle, but how do we address the human element? How do we ensure the metaverse is free from harassment, discrimination, and other forms of online harm?
A key recommendation is clear community guidelines and strong content moderation policies. We need to define what constitutes acceptable behavior in the metaverse and create effective mechanisms for reporting and addressing violations.
So, we need virtual moderators who can step in if someone is being harassed or behaving inappropriately. Would these be AI, human moderators, or a combination?
That's already a hot debate. Some argue that AI can efficiently identify and filter out harmful content, while others believe human oversight is necessary to ensure fairness and context. It's likely we'll see a hybrid approach that combines the strengths of both.
But even with the best moderation systems, technology alone can't solve deeply rooted social problems. It seems like a broader effort is needed to create a culture of respect and inclusivity within the metaverse itself.
Absolutely. Educational resources and awareness campaigns are essential for promoting positive social norms and encouraging empathy. We need to educate users on the impact of their actions in a virtual environment and foster a sense of shared responsibility for creating a welcoming community.
So it's about setting clear expectations and consequences, but also cultivating ethical responsibility within the metaverse.
Exactly. It's not just about rules and enforcement. It's about creating a culture where users actively invest in fostering a positive and inclusive environment.
That brings us to the next piece of the puzzle. The legal challenges. How do we even start untangling the web of virtual property rights, intellectual property, and jurisdiction? It's like trying to apply 20th century laws to a 22nd century world.
You're right. It's a massive undertaking. Some experts suggest developing proactive legal frameworks tailored specifically to the metaverse. This includes clarifying property rights for virtual assets, establishing intellectual property protections for virtual environments, and defining jurisdictional boundaries in a borderless digital world.
Are we talking about creating an entirely new legal system for the metaverse? That sounds incredibly ambitious.
It's certainly complex, but some argue it's necessary for fairness, accountability, and legal clarity. Others believe existing laws can be adapted for the metaverse, but this would require careful collaboration between legal experts, policymakers, and technology developers.
It sounds overwhelming, like the scope of these challenges is almost too much to handle.
It can feel that way. But remember, this is still the early days of the metaverse. We have the chance to shape its development to align with our values and goals.
That's true. It's not inevitable that the metaverse will become a dystopian nightmare. We have the power to steer it in a positive direction.
Exactly. The metaverse isn't some preordained destiny. It's a choice. Like any social construct, its development will depend on our values, decisions, and actions.
It feels like we're at a fork in the road. One path leads to a metaverse that exacerbates inequalities and social problems, while the other leads to a metaverse that empowers individuals, fosters connection, and expands human potential.
And the direction we take depends on the decisions we make now. Do we prioritize people over profit? Do we embrace diversity and inclusion? Do we value ethics over expediency?
Those are some heavy questions, but they're essential as we navigate this uncharted territory.
Absolutely. The metaverse is like a blank canvas, and we hold the brush to shape its future.
That's an inspiring thought. But what are your personal hopes and fears for the metaverse? Where do you see the greatest potential, and where are the biggest risks?
One of the most exciting potentials is its ability to connect people across cultural and geographical boundaries. Imagine collaborating with colleagues across the globe, attending virtual concerts with friends from other countries, or learning a new language through immersive experiences. The possibilities for connection and shared experiences are incredible.
It's like taking the best parts of social media and making them more real and immersive.
Exactly. But there are risks too. One of the biggest is the potential for the metaverse to be used for manipulation or control, reinforcing existing power structures, spreading misinformation, or eroding our sense of reality.
So, it's critical to stay vigilant, recognizing both the potential for good and the risks.
Absolutely. We need to approach the metaverse with a balance of skepticism and wonder.
And it's worth noting that the metaverse won't be a single unified space. It will be a collection of platforms and virtual worlds, each with its own culture and rules.
Exactly. That means we can't use a one-size-fits-all approach. Each platform and community will present unique challenges and opportunities.
So adaptability and innovation will be key as the metaverse evolves.
That's right. As the metaverse takes shape, we must stay flexible, learn continuously, and evolve our strategies to create a future that reflects our best aspirations.
This brings us to an important point. Technology often outpaces our ability to fully understand its implications or regulate it.
That's been the pattern throughout history, from the printing press to the internet. And it's especially true with the metaverse, which represents a true convergence of technology and human experience.
It feels like we're building the plane as we're flying it, but this time the stakes are much higher. We're not just talking about a new technology, we're talking about a new reality.
And that reality is still taking shape. We have the opportunity to get ahead of the curve, anticipate problems, and design solutions before they become entrenched. But it requires collective effort and a long-term focus on sustainability and ethics.
It's a daunting task, but also an incredibly exciting one. We have a chance to shape the future of human experience in a way that few generations have had before.
And that brings us to the question, why should people care about the metaverse? What's at stake for them?
The metaverse could impact nearly every aspect of our lives, from how we work and learn to how we socialize and entertain ourselves. It has the potential to transform our digital experiences in profound ways.
It's like the internet, but instead of just accessing information, you're inhabiting a virtual world and experiencing things in a way that was never before possible.
Just like with the internet, the metaverse has the potential for both good and bad. The choices we make today will determine the kind of metaverse we create for ourselves and future generations.
Everyone has a role to play in shaping it. It's not just about passively consuming content, it's about actively participating in the metaverse's development. Stay informed about the ethical and societal implications and advocate for responsible development practices.
Supporting companies that prioritize privacy, security, and inclusivity in their metaverse offerings is another way to contribute. Voting with our wallets and voices can shape the future we want to see.
Exactly. We're not just along for the ride, we're all co-creators of this emerging world.
The metaverse isn't just a technological development, it's a social and cultural phenomenon. We all have a stake in ensuring it evolves in a way that benefits humanity as a whole. It's incredible to think that we have the opportunity to shape something as monumental as the metaverse.
It's true. We're standing at the cusp of a new era. The choices we make now will have ripple effects for generations to come. It's exhilarating, but also a little daunting.
That's why it's so important to have these conversations, to explore the challenges, but also envision a future where the metaverse enhances our lives.
One thing that stands out is the potential for the metaverse to be a catalyst for positive change. It could help address some of the problems we face in the physical world.
What do you mean by that?
For example, the metaverse could create more inclusive and accessible spaces. Imagine a world where physical disabilities or geographical limitations no longer prevent people from fully participating in social, educational, or professional activities. It could level the playing field.
That's a powerful thought. And it's not just about accessibility for people with disabilities. It could bridge cultural divides, connect people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and offer opportunities for marginalized communities to build businesses and create economic empowerment.
Exactly. The metaverse could also transform education. Imagine immersive learning environments where students can explore ancient civilizations, dissect virtual organs, or travel to distant planets. It could revolutionize the way we learn, making education more engaging, accessible, and global.
The metaverse isn't just for kids' education. It has the potential to provide lifelong learning, professional development, and retraining for those looking to adapt to the rapidly changing job market.
Exactly. It could empower people to access opportunities and experiences that were previously out of reach.
So in a way, it could democratize access to knowledge, skills, and even social capital, helping create a more equitable and interconnected world.
But to realize this potential, we need to address the challenges we've discussed. The metaverse must be built on ethical principles, strong security measures, and inclusive design.
We need to be proactive, not reactive, anticipating problems and designing solutions before they become ingrained in the system.
So, what can individuals do to ensure the metaverse reaches its full potential?
First and foremost, stay informed. Learn about the different platforms, technologies, and the ethical and societal implications of the metaverse. The more we know, the better equipped we'll be to make informed choices and advocate for responsible development.
Exactly. Your voice matters. Talk to friends and family, share concerns, and engage in discussions. The more we talk about these issues, the greater our collective awareness and responsibility.
We can also support companies prioritizing ethical considerations, inclusivity, and user safety in their metaverse development. It's about engaging with platforms and experiences that align with our values.
Absolutely. It's about voting with our wallets and attention. Additionally, getting involved in online communities, contributing to open-source projects, or advocating for policy changes can help shape the future of the metaverse.
It's empowering to know we're not passive bystanders in this revolution. We have the power to shape the metaverse into something extraordinary.
And as you engage with new technologies and experiences, approach them with curiosity, a healthy dose of skepticism, and a commitment to using your voice and actions to create a virtual world that reflects our highest aspirations for humanity.
That's a beautiful sentiment. Let's dive deeper into the predictions about the metaverse's growth and see past the hype to understand its real potential.
There's a lot of buzz right now. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, But history shows that not all revolutions live up to the initial hype.
Right? Like when Facebook rebranded to Meta and invested $70 billion into the metaverse.
Exactly. And it's not just Meta. McKinsey reported that $120 billion was invested globally in the metaverse in the first half of 2022, more than double the previous year's total. It feels a lot like the dot-com bubble of the late 90s, when companies rushed to invest based on speculation rather than solid fundamentals.
So are we seeing irrational exuberance with the metaverse? McKinsey predicts it'll be a $5 trillion market by 2030, while Databridge forecasts a mind-blowing $139.3 trillion by 2029. Those are huge differences.
Yes, and to put it in perspective, the global gaming market, often tied to the metaverse, was valued at just under $200 billion in 2021, with a projected growth to $600 billion by 2030. So, one forecast suggests the metaverse could surpass the entire global gaming market, while another says it'll contribute a massive chunk of the world economy.
Let's break this down. The global GDP in 2022 was $101 trillion. Even with generous growth, by 2029 it would be around $162 trillion. McKinsey's forecast suggests the metaverse would contribute around 3% to global GDP, which seems feasible. But Databridge's prediction suggests it'll account for over 85% of global GDP.
Exactly. It raises the question, are these predictions realistic, or is it just another wave of speculative frenzy?
That's the key question. Looking at past technological revolutions, we can see that they often face unexpected hurdles.
Right. For the metaverse to truly take off, it requires incredibly powerful infrastructure. Think realistic 3D avatars interacting seamlessly. That needs immense processing power and lightning-fast data transfer speeds. We're talking about the need for 6G networks, with bandwidths far beyond what we have today.
So, why can't our current networks handle that data load?
To render those avatars and create immersive experiences, it's like streaming a high-definition movie in real time for each user. That requires a huge amount of data to be transmitted and processed instantly. Our current 4G and even 5G networks just aren't built for that demand.
6G seems crucial, but what other challenges are there?
Another challenge is Moore's Law, which states that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles roughly every 2 years, leading to exponential growth in computing power. But recently, Moore's Law has slowed down, making it harder to overcome the computational limits for a truly immersive metaverse experience.
Interesting. So even if we solve the technological challenges, what about the real-world implications? Regulations, legal issues, and doing business in a virtual world.
Those are key aspects that are often overlooked. For example, governments will need to regulate virtual property, digital assets, and intellectual property rights. Establishing clear legal frameworks in the metaverse will take time and careful thought.
I hadn't even considered taxes. How would that work in a virtual environment?
Exactly. And for businesses, it's not just about replicating existing models in a virtual space. The metaverse requires entirely new ways of creating value, engaging customers, and generating revenue.
Exactly. In fact, a 2020 survey by Perkins Coie revealed significant concerns about VR and metaverse adoption from consumers.
One major concern was the user experience. Nearly 20% of respondents cited clunky VR headsets as a barrier to entry.
That makes sense. Wearing a bulky headset for extended periods doesn't sound comfortable or convenient.
Right? Imagine trying to work, socialize, or relax in the metaverse with a heavy headset. We need something more seamless, like contact lenses or advanced eyeglasses that can blend the virtual and real worlds. But we're not quite there yet.
So, clunky headsets are a problem. What else did the survey reveal?
Another significant concern was the lack of quality content. About 27% of respondents saw this as a barrier.
That makes sense. What's the point of an amazing virtual world if there's nothing interesting to do or see?
Exactly. The metaverse needs compelling experiences, engaging content, and a sense of purpose to keep users coming back.
So we've got technological hurdles, regulatory challenges, and consumer concerns about user experience and content. It seems like building a thriving metaverse is more complicated than just investments and intentions.
That's true. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but we need to be realistic about the obstacles and ensure that the metaverse's development is thoughtful, inclusive, and benefits everyone.
Well said.
Now, let's explore some more nuanced aspects of the metaverse. While we've covered the challenges, the potential impact could go far beyond what we can imagine.
Yeah, it's like trying to understand a hurricane while it's still forming. We can see the major forces at play, but the full impact won't be clear until it makes landfall.
Great analogy. Just like a hurricane brings both destruction and renewal, the metaverse could have both positive and negative unforeseen consequences.
You mentioned education earlier. How might the metaverse transform the way we learn?
Imagine a history class where instead of just reading about ancient Rome, students can walk through a virtual recreation of the Colosseum, explore the Roman Forum, or interact with historical figures.
That would make history class a lot more engaging.
Exactly. And think about hands-on learning. In subjects like science or medicine, students could dissect a 3D human heart, explore a cell's inner workings, or practice complex surgeries in a virtual operating room.
The metaverse could open up a whole new world of experiential learning.
It could. And it's not just limited to classrooms. Imagine virtual apprenticeships where people can learn a trade from a master craftsman regardless of location, or immersive language programs where you practice real-life scenarios in a virtual environment.
Those are some amazing possibilities, but what about potential downsides? What should we be thinking about?
One concern is increased social isolation. If people spend more time in virtual worlds, they might withdraw from real-life interactions. We need to encourage a healthy balance between the virtual and the real.
That's a valid point. We've seen concerns about the impact of social media on mental health and relationships. Could the metaverse amplify those issues?
It's certainly a risk. And then there's digital inequality. Access to the metaverse will likely require expensive equipment and reliable internet. If we're not careful, it could deepen existing socioeconomic divides.
We wouldn't want only the privileged few to have access to this new digital frontier.
Exactly. The metaverse needs to be inclusive and accessible to everyone, regardless of income or technical abilities.
So accessibility and social impact are major concerns. What about ethical considerations?
The ethics of the metaverse are complex. We need to think about data privacy, security, and the potential misuse of personal information. Who controls the data? How is it collected and used? These are critical questions.
And what about the spread of misinformation or manipulation within virtual environments?
Those are tricky issues. Imagine a virtual world where it's hard to tell what's real and what's fabricated, or where users are constantly bombarded with targeted advertising or propaganda.
It sounds like a dystopian science fiction novel.
It does, but it's a possibility we need to be prepared for. As the lines between virtual and real blur, ethical challenges will become more complex.
It seems like there's a lot to consider as we navigate this new frontier.
There is, but with careful planning, open dialogue, and responsible development, we can make the metaverse a force for good while minimizing risks.
That's a hopeful thought. We've covered technological hurdles, social concerns, and ethical implications. We're only just beginning to explore this complex and rapidly evolving topic.
True, we've looked at technological marvels, economic forecasts, and societal shifts. But the key takeaway is that we are all active participants in shaping the future of this digital frontier.
That's powerful. It's not a predetermined path. Our choices and actions will shape how the metaverse evolves.
Exactly. We're writing the next chapter of this story. It's up to us to decide what kind of world we want. One that amplifies inequalities, or one that fosters connection and understanding.
Those are big questions. It feels like we're just at the beginning.
And that's why it's crucial to engage in these conversations now. To be critical, ask tough questions, and imagine the world we want to create.
It's reminiscent of the early days of the internet. So much excitement, but also uncertainty about what the future held.
That's a great point. Technological advancements are predictable. There will be unexpected twists, breakthroughs, and setbacks. But ultimately, the direction we take is up to us. So, what advice would you give to listeners curious about the metaverse?
Stay curious, be discerning, and ask questions. Stay informed, engage in discussions about the ethical implications, and approach the metaverse with the understanding that we all play a role in shaping its future.
Beautifully said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
As we wrap up today's discussion, we've covered a lot of ground on the exciting and complex topic of the metaverse. We explored how extended reality, metaverse, and AI are intertwined, especially when it comes to creating immersive virtual worlds with embedded AI. We also delved into the applications of the metaverse, from education and entertainment to business and social connection. But of course, we didn't shy away from the challenges. Technological barriers, regulatory hurdles, and the economic uncertainties that come with such a rapidly evolving space.
Absolutely. And we discussed some of the bold predictions for the metaverse's growth, which are all over the map. While some see it becoming a trillion-dollar industry, others remain more cautious, reminding us that hype doesn't always match reality. These predictions bring us to the important question: what's realistic and what's simply speculative? And how can we prepare for both the potential benefits and pitfalls that lie ahead?
It's clear that the metaverse is still in its early stages with a lot of unknowns, but that's what makes it so intriguing. The technology, the societal impact, and the ethical questions. It's all still unfolding, and we're here for the ride.
Exactly. And next time we'll shift gears to dive into the fascinating world of robotics. We'll be talking about driverless vehicles, 3D printing, and how AI is enhancing robotics. We'll also explore the market size for robots, break down their categories, and look at some of the key application areas for robotics today.
We'll also discuss some of the current impediments in robotics, from technological to ethical, and how AI and the vast amounts of data being generated are improving robotic systems and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It's a thrilling topic, and we can't wait to dig into it next time. So stay tuned as we continue to explore the incredible intersection of technology, innovation, and the future of human progress.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next session.